Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at how we export or bounce our complete projects into an audio file, so an MP3 or a WAV file. Now exporting and bouncing mean the same thing. Bounce is a specific term in Logic, but it means the same thing. Convert your tracks or your projects into an audio file. Okay, so it's very simple, but before we get to that point, it's always a good idea to just check the loudness levels. And we're not going into so much depth in this, but just to have a quick glance to make sure that your track isn't peaking, so it isn't going too loud that it distorts and sounds horrible. Okay, so what we're going to do is just check the loudest part of this track, which I know happens to be these last few bars here. And we're just going to check that these tracks combined don't come to louder than 0 decibels. Okay, above that we can get distortion, and it's just not very nice. Okay, so keep an eye on this box down here and just check that the audio levels don't go above 0 decibels. Okay, so let's play this now. There we go. So we're well and truly in the green. Quite literally, the number down here is green, saying that the levels are good levels, that we're not going too loud. If this number here for you goes orange, that's generally okay. But if it goes to red, then you've usually got a problem where your audio is too loud. At which point, go into all of your tracks. I would suggest, if you're happy with your mix, and just lower the levels using the sliders here. Okay. Right, so that's that. This is a good level. This is a good level, usually between -4 and -8-ish. That's a good level for sending your track to be mastered. If you're aiming to just, get this track out there already done, everything's fine. You're aiming for 0 decibels exactly, although some people may say, 0.1 decibels at peak level. So basically, if you're trying to export your track because it's completely done and finished, aim for this number here to be 0. And if you're aiming for sending your track to a mastering engineer or mastering it yourself, aim for between -4, -8, that kind of thing. And this is definitely not a hard and fast rule. I'll do a whole separate video on that at a later date. But just for now, this is fine. Okay, so once you're happy with the levels of your track, the next thing to do is just check the end point of your track over here. So this is the end marker, and just check that it's not too far away from the end of your actual track. So if it's miles over here, when you bounce down or export your track, it's gonna have a whole chunk from here to here of just silence, which you don't really want. So what you need to do is bring this up to very close to the end of your track. Or to the end of your track. So let's get this all the way right up to the very end like that. I would actually recommend leaving a tiny bit of space afterwards, just a tiny little bit. Okay, so let's leave a bar from the end. Okay, so that's fine. Right, so we've got a tiny bit of gap here. Right, then all you need to do is press Command and B. Alternatively, you can just come to File, down to Bounce, and click Project or Section. Okay, right, now we have a choice. So PCM, which stands for Pulse Code Modulation. Basically, this is the highest quality that you can possibly export. Select your file format, so WAV or AIFF is usually what most people go for. Resolution, so how clear do you want this to be? So what kind of quality do you want, really? The lower you go, the generally speaking, the worse quality you get. If you think about 8-bit games, like some of the early Pokemon games, it's that kind of quality. And it will sound better than that, but just that's the general gist of it, right? Sample rate for audio is 44/100, so leave it at that. But if you're going for film, which I imagine most of you are not, but if you are, then the default, the standard is 48,000 on the sample rate. But I would recommend you leave this as 44/100. Right, and there is a very good reason for this, but again, this is a little bit more advanced, so I'll go into that in a whole separate video. Right, file type, interleaved, that means left and right are combined into one MP3 file or one WAV file. Rather than, if you click split, you get two separate audio files, one for the left and one for the right. And I imagine most people do not want that. So leave this as interleaved. And we'll skip dithering for now and come back to that in a later video. So if you want a very high quality audio export, you want to click PCM and just do what we did there. If, however, you want an MP3, make sure you check that box there and only this one. And then I would recommend that you leave these settings as they are. But again, it's the higher the number, the higher the quality, generally speaking. But I would leave these as they are. Okay, so filter frequencies below 10K. That means any of the rumble below the human hearing range. Joint stereo, so again, left and right in one file. Now ID3 tags, if you want your name and your anything else you want to put embedded into the actual audio file, so that when you click on it or anybody else clicks on it, that your name pops up on the track, then you want to click on this. Then click ID3 settings and put in, your details, whatever it is you want to put in. Just double click and you can type away. Okay, I don't want this. I'm going to leave that unchecked. And that's it. Now, one additional thing is include audio tail. Audio tail is when, so you've got like reverb. It just lets that ring out and then stops the export, rather than cutting it off immediately at the end of the last played note. Now, if you want to, if you've got some plugins that when you play back don't always start the first time round, you may want to click real time and click bounce on the second cycle pass. I would imagine most people don't need this, so I would leave this as just offline. And I would also recommend that you leave normalize as off. Generally speaking, if your levels are fine, you shouldn't really need this as long as you've got your levels okay. Okay, and that's the general gist of this. Now we could go into a bit more depth on this, and I probably will at a later date. But as a quick how to actually export your tracks, this is fine. So right, once you've selected your settings, either WAV file or MP3, click OK. Then Logic will say where do you want to save this file and what name do you want to give this file. So put in your name of your track. I would recommend. Say the same as your projects, otherwise it can become a little bit confusing. And then select your destination. So desktop for me is fine. Click bounce, and then Logic will bounce through your tracks, convert it to an MP3 if you selected that, and it takes a little bit of a moment to do that. And there we go. So that's all you have to do. Now to double check, of course, you can go to wherever you save your file and double click on that and open it in iTunes or just preview it. But you can also import it into Logic just to be sure. So let's create a new audio track and just import that file just to be sure that we got it. We'll drag it down here and we'll click bounced. So bounced file. Then we want to press Command-Shift-I. Make sure we're in the destination where we saved our file. So there it is. Click on it, click open, and then Logic imports that file for you. And if we zoom in, there we can see. Now if we solo this, we can just check that it is in fact the correct file. And I'll just make this a touch quieter. There we go, and that's it. So that's all there is to it. So yeah, and if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.